Welcome to High Point, North Carolina, home of the Panthers in purple and white. Conference play is underway and High Point looks to defend their throne as last year's regular season champs. The road won't be easy though, as 8 other squads in the conference are looking to set fire to the jungle and keep the Panthers from winning that Big South title. We've got your coverage all season long. This is the Panther Pregame.
Welcome into the studio here on the campus of High Point University alongside Jimmy Rosselli. I'm Scott Semanchik. This is the Panther Pregame before the High Point versus Winthrop basketball game. An afternoon game, the first one the Panthers are hosting at home, 2 o'clock today. Almost been entirely 7 o'clock games this entire year so far. First one that you have in the afternoon. Jimmy, it's at home. It's been a big part for the Panthers to be at home. What does it mean for both the Big South as both a Big South team, both a college basketball team, and specifically the High Point Panthers?
Well, Scott, you know, it always comes down in college basketball to that home court advantage, right? And the home court plays a huge impact on how the game's not only going to play out, but how the fans are going to react and how the team's going to carry on momentum. We've seen it at March Madness, right? If it's a game up in Columbus and it's Cincinnati versus Texas, there's going to be a lot more momentum in Cincinnati's fan, right? But here in High Point, the Cubane Center gets lit up, right? The student section is something that High Point really, really embraces, and the team loves it as a whole. Last season, 15-2 were the Panthers at home. This season, 11-1. It's exactly what you need from a team and from a basketball program that's on the rise.
Yeah, as you said, it's been a massive part for both the High Point Panthers and the Big South as a whole. There's been 28 contests in conference so far as we close out the first loop of the conference. Only 6 away teams have won so far. It's been so heavily favored on the home team. One of those wins, really 3 of those wins came Wednesday, but one of them will specify for the High Point Panthers. They beat Upstate at Upstate. What were some takeaways from you?
Yeah, Scott, it's about time they kind of found that momentum on the away stretch, right? They have a tough loss to Longwood a couple games ago. Now they finally get that momentum back here against USC Upstate. It was well-deserved, right? And it was well-earned, to say the least. One player particularly that stood out to me was Keza Jiffa finally getting that momentum moving for himself. He had a slow start to the season. We know last season he had that stretch of legacy games, but it's about time that he kind of gets his feet under the ball again and is able to get those points racked up on the board. He had 18 against USC Upstate, and he started to find his rhythm from the perimeter, to say the least. You know, as we came into this season, we thought, is that pick and roll with Bodo going to be what they rely on? But of course, those guys from the transfer portal and some other players along with him have really stepped up, and it took the pressure off Jiffa, so it's very exciting to see him now finally start to find that rhythm again.
Yeah, somebody I want to point out in that game was Kamani Hamilton. Not really just specifically in that game. He had an okay game in Kamani Hamilton standards, 7 points, 5 rebounds, but he's just been somebody that's been a great unit for this team. He's been a key part at his second year here since transferring from Mississippi State. He's been probably the best athlete in the Big South. I think I heard that on the ESPNU broadcast when they played Longwood. They said Kamani Hamilton they think is the best athlete, and I truly believe that with both his size, his speed, his control of his body, everything there can work perfectly in his favor, and he has the ability to absolutely explode and to get a little bit more on the absolute Kamani Hamilton craze that he's been on so far. Our own Tyler Guzik. Tyler, take it away.
With several members of the men's basketball team transferring in the last 2 seasons under head coach Alan Huss, it can be argued none of which have been more impactful than the 5-man Kamani Hamilton. Spending his freshman season at Mississippi State, Hamilton was recruited by Huss and has been nothing short of a blessing for the Panthers the last 2 seasons. Hamilton started all 36 games last season for the Panthers, averaging 14.9 points per game. This season, Hamilton hasn't slowed down with the Panthers' found depth. Averaging 13.5 points and 5.1 rebounds per game, his impact is felt all throughout the team. With a season-high 26 points against conference opponent Presbyterian on January 18th, a team high in the night as well, Hamilton has continued to dazzle the Panther fans with his shooting, but it's tenacity and energy that are a major impact for the Panthers as well. Time and time again, after tough baskets, assists, and key plays that ultimately decide the game, Hamilton is continuously seen with the most energy. It's the little plays that matter, the little things that people don't see, and Hamilton provides that. As his junior season continues on January 25th against Winthrop, fans can expect Hamilton to bring the energy that the Panthers need to take down the Eagles.
Thank you so much, Tyler. Yeah, Kamani Hamilton going into now is going to be his 3rd contest against Winthrop. He had a great contest the last time that they played at home, dropped 19 points, 7 rebounds in 100 96 overtime thriller against the Golden Eagles. It was a great showing from him. We've seen it a lot from him. But somebody else who's familiar with the Winthrop Eagles, we're going to talk about Damarian Williams, a transfer. Maybe his first year here for the Panthers, but he had 2 years at Gardner-Webb. We're going to take a look at a few of his stats there. You'll see his first time there, great numbers. You'll see his numbers versus Winthrop, 11.4, 2.8 rebounds, 2 assists. He dropped 22 in the conference semifinals. That was against the DJ Burns Winthrop Eagles. You'll go over to Texas Tech. Those numbers plummet. Got 2 different head coaches, didn't have a great time. He then wants to get out of there, transfers back into the Big South under Alan Huss. He said, it's your big offense now. He had defensive coaches. Now you have an offensive-centered coach in Alan Huss. All those numbers have skyrocketed. He's done an amazing job. He loves to be back here. And he said himself that the Winthrop rivalry for him is its own rivalry. He loved what it's like. He loves what it's going into. He had a big thing that he had to do big game last night. Wednesday night, 20 points, 6 threes. What have you liked about his game so far, Jimmy?
I mean, it's hard not to love pretty much everything he does, right? He plays defense, he plays offense, he's got a lot of heart. It's really shown so far his player development from Texas Tech coming back to the Big South Conference. He's really at a high level all around the court, and he brings an attitude of a lot of heart and almost just like, I don't care mentality. I'm going to go out there and try and win, and I love that about him.
Yeah, you can look into more of his mentality. We had our own Jonah Aylwine go and sit down with Damarian Williams after Wednesday's game, talk about the preparation that went into Wednesday's game, what preparation goes into today's game. So, Jonah, take it away.
So, Demar, what do you think the team needs to prepare for well against Winthrop?
Well, I think Winthrop is a well-coached team. I think they play well together. I mean, they complement each other's games. So I think on the defensive end is where we're going to have to bring it to ensure the win.
And then what kind of preparation are you doing on your end?
Just keeping my body healthy, really. Just staying in the training room, stretching, getting massages here and there, just making sure my body feels good.
And then you're coming off another 20-point performance. How do you kind of reciprocate that in terms of doing it, like playing at a consistent level? You play on fire through most games, just trying to keep that play.
Really, I just go based on the game. My teammates do a good job of finding me, so it makes it easier on my part. And then, I just kind of let the game come to me. Whatever they give me, I take.
Is there like something that you like during the game? I mean, there could be an opening like down in the paint, maybe a 3-point line. Is there something that you feel like you personally specialize in? Maybe that stats still may not say?
Nah, I really like to catch and shoot 3.
Yeah.
That's really the easiest shot for me, and layups, of course, but really I prefer catch and shoot 3.
And then what were some of your takeaways between Texas Tech and then before?
Just learning, just learning from different coaches. This is my 4th coach in 4 years, so just learning as much as I can from everybody I come into contact with, for sure. At Tech, I was for a defensive coach, and here I'm for an offensive coach, so it's different for sure, but they have similarities, and they're both great coaches, so it makes it easier for me, for sure.
What have you taken away? I know it's been a short time here at High Point so far, but what have you taken away so far?
Really just the love. I mean, when I was in the conference, High Point probably had 20 people in the stands. So just seeing it change into all the support it gets and everybody that's behind the basketball program, it's just crazy to me.
Thank you so much, Jonah. Yeah, and as we said, Damarian Williams has had a huge impact transferring over. But Jimmy, I know you want to talk about a few of the other transfers who have come in. Of course, Alan Huss has been really using, almost abusing, the transfer portal since coming in last year. The entire team just about is all entirely new. But I know you want to talk about some of the specific transfers from this year. Who do you want to point out?
Well, again, Scott, you covered it greatly there. Coach Huss has attacked this transfer portal like no one else in the Big South Conference. And one player specifically that really stands out is Bobby Pettiford. This guy spent 2 seasons with Kansas, one of which they won a national championship at. He has the experience of a top-level athlete, and he brought it here to High Point, and we're seeing that impact that he's having against these teams. He's finding ways to get his space, get his shot off, and attack the rim. He uses his size. Even though he's not the biggest guy on the court, he uses it effectively to create that space. He uses that quickness, that young athleticism, that strength to get right into his fluid jump shot and finish buckets for them. Not to mention he's one of the most clutch guys on the court. I mean, one of my favorite stats here, Scott's already laughing. It is the fact that 3 straight Thanksgivings he's had a buzzer beater, and it's for 3 different teams. Kansas, then ECU, then here for the Panthers. The guy's got ice in the veins. He's a tough player. He's got heart. He reminds me of Damarian Williams. They work very well together. 2 high-level players with a lot of IQ. It's exciting to watch them play.
Yeah, really just an incredible passer. And somebody else that I know we want to point out is Simon Hildebrandt, another transfer. You got to sit down with him last week, got to talk about his game and everything that he does. But something that I really appreciate is probably the use of him.
Yep.
Since coming in, we really haven't had a big that could be a stretch big. We've always had you have Bodo. You look down low, that's all you have is Bodo down low, a true center. Yep. Now you're willing to go and stretch Simon Hildebrandt out. I've been really loving what I've been seeing from him.
Yeah, and it's tough to put all the pressure on Bodo as well, right? If he plays the entire game because he's your only big guy, he's going to get tired, and by the second half, you're not going to have the same Bodo as you did in the first. But now Hildebrandt has come in from Canada, by the way, so he's really getting used to playing in an American league where there's a lot more physicality, there's a lot more size, and he's really been effective filling into that 4 and 5 spot. He's played the 3 spot his whole career, but he's finally starting to learn and be a little bit more accessible to new positions.
Yeah, and I think it's been a great go and jump for High Point. I still think there's some places that, although they abused the transfer portal, you could say, I feel like they didn't always fix their issues. They fixed their issues as a team. I don't think they fixed their issues as an opponent. One of the big things that we really didn't see much of is the attack of that true down low post spot. We saw it in that Longwood game. Elijah Simmons went and kind of just beat up High Point down low because you have Bodo, who's not really purely taught as a big, how to defend a strong big. Hildebrandt's smaller than a big, really can't get played down there. And so I feel like that's something that High Point just needs to look at, is how to attack their opponents who haven't used the transfer portal as much, and actually how this team plays. How are they going to play with that guy coming back? Fletcher Abey for Asheville, another big one that I feel like High Point really didn't attack with the transfer portal, of how to solve his problem.
Yeah, and Coach Huss has spoke about how this team has so much depth within it, right? You look at the starting lineup. I mean, definitely the best starting lineup in the Big South Conference. They should be going to the March Madness tournament with how much talent they have. That is not an overstatement. I saw the smile.
Yeah.
It's not an overstatement. I know for a fact that this team should be in the March Madness tournament with the talent that they have, and the depth is something Coach Huss really emphasizes. You look at the B line and even the C line. Those are some guys who can start on a lot of the teams in the Big South Conference. So the question rises, is this team underperforming, or are they just waiting to click, right? They're second in the Big South Conference right now. Clearly they should be first with the amount of talent they have from the transfer portal, from the chemistry, from the development that this coaching staff has. So the question rises, what do they need to do to really, really put their foot down on the pedal and finish out Big South Conference play?
It is going to be really interesting with those top teams. Of course, teams that have gone issues for High Point, your Asheville's and your Longwood, both teams that they played away. They're going to now be coming home in the second half of the season when those wins really, really matter. You'll see how much that impacts, because as we said, only 6 away teams so far have won in the 28 contests. Well, that's about all the time we have here in the studio. We'll send you over to the arena for a bit of a Star Wars themed night. You'll see the High Point Panthers out in their all-black treads, and it's going to be a good game between them and the Winthrop Eagles. For Jimmy Rosselli, I've been Scott Semanchik. You guys have a great afternoon, and remember, roll Thurs.